Hello, everyone, and welcome to round 6 of 11 at Azerbaijan today. We're introducing the F2 guys today at Azerbaijan, and I'm going to take you straight through to the track flyover. Welcome back, everybody. Today, joining me as my co-commentator, welcome Brandon Creer. Welcome.
How's it? Thank you for having me.
Okay, so this is the first time you're joining me today, so welcome, and hope this is not too nerve-wracking for you today.
No, not at all. Thank you for having me. So yeah, I'll be doing this for my first time, I believe,
Yeah,
commentating over a race.
great. Right, so we see some of the F2 guys already out on track, starting to set their outlaps now and hopefully get good times in. Currently looking at Rafael there for my team, Prema.
Yeah, Rafael seems to be going out on his mediums instead of the super softs. I think he plans to have the super softs at the later end of the race. So it's a very good strategy. Hopefully, he can qualify very high up with those and make good use of it.
Yeah, because I believe that whichever tire compound you did not use for the feature race actually then gets used for the sprint race. Is that correct?
Yes, that is true.
So it would be advisable, if you can, to save your softer or faster tire for the shorter race. Right, looking at Bruin there, and he's currently second in the Drivers' Championship. There's a very heated battle going on between Dennis and then Ruan and Mohammed. They are the top three in the F2 class at the moment.
Mohamed Faizan, yes, yeah. He is he's a very feisty fighter on the track. So it was an interesting battle between him and I that we had in the race as well.
Yes, I believe you actually joined the race unofficially.
Yes, yes, I was an unofficial joiner. Unfortunately, I joined much later in the session. I was able to qualify, but I felt that it would be unfair to the guys, so I just remained at the back and just to see where I would end up in the race.
Yeah, so whatever points actually was obtained by Brandon for this session was not counted, but we actually recruited him as part of Prema. So he will actually be racing for the Prema team in round 7 at Canada.
Yeah, I believe that is tonight
Well,
on the 11th of June.
the next round, yes.
Yes, yes. The 11th of June, yes.
Yes. Ruan's currently out on a lap. Currently his lap looks quite clean. But yeah, this is not a favorite amongst guys. The city tracks can get quite tricky at times.
Yeah, I believe it's the traction to having to do coming out of the castle section. I quite like the castle section. It favors those that are risky, late on the brakes, early on the turn, in just barely brushing the wall. But the moment you go out to the top, You turn right, you have to hug the wall really tightly, and then you have to make the left-hander. Now that left-hander has a wall and a curb. The curb should not actually be there. If you look at real life, you'll see that there's no curb to destabilize any traction, and they can run out quite wide. It's like almost like a triangle shape cut out of the wall, just so that the cars can fit in there, get the traction throughout, and get early on the throttle. However, as you see with this game, yes, following on Jaming Jacobs right now. Oh no, there we switch out. But you will see that at the top of the castle section, uh, just on that exit of the left-hander, there is zero grip, and you have to be so careful on the throttle. And most of the times, especially in the race, you'll spin. But because you're in qualifying, you have the grippy soft compound, and you've already heated it up due to all the traction zones, you don't get that much of a spin. So you always have to be careful there.
Oh, you see somebody, one of the Dam's cars actually running wide there on corner two. He actually had to go off into the runoff area. I don't know who that was. It could have been V. Yeah, so Dennis is currently the pole setter at the moment. But yeah, these cars are much larger than their predecessors. Especially the Formula One cars are much larger than previous dated Formula One cars. So passing, especially at tracks like Monaco and stuff like that, is quite tricky.
Yeah, Monaco is definitely a procession. It's just one grand spectacle for all the rich people to enjoy.
That's true.
And honestly, it's not so bad. It's not
Because
so
it's
bad.
a
It's always
tradition.
nice. Yeah, it's a tradition, of course.
It always
Yes.
feels like F1 is trying to sell us on how wonderful the Monaco track is, but nobody's buying into it.
It can be wonderful due to the Formula E race. I believe there were three wide battles going into
Yeah, but that's the
first
thing.
corner.
The Formula E cars are quite a bit smaller than the Formula One cars, and I understand why they made these cars so big, but especially you don't really realize it when you're looking at the car. But they had a picture of the previous Renault when Alonso was doing that exhibition, and how much smaller the previous cars were compared to the new ones. It's actually extraordinary when you see them side by side.
Yes, but that was allowable because of the refueling that they could do. So they didn't have to carry on 100 kilograms of fuel, 100 liters of fuel, and do an entire race with it. They could go as Michael Schumacher did in the past. He went 4 stops at, I believe it was Magny-Cours or some such, and he beat Alonso just by refueling, putting on new tires, and putting quality laps in every single lap. And they can't do
Wow.
it these days.
They did away with the refueling because of safety reasons, right?
Oh,
Ooh,
Josh
and
not
Josh,
just hit the wall.
Josh had a disagreement there with the wall.
I don't think he was prepared for the understeer going into that corner. He probably didn't turn his wheel enough. Because I remember struggling as well. I was quite surprised by the lack of downforce these cars have.
This is also one of the new drivers out on track right now. Sebastian Antonio is also making his debut here today.
Driving for Sauber. Sauber F2. And Josh Nutt is going into the pits, obviously to replace his wing. And you will definitely
He'll
need to
definitely not
put
set a
in,
lap time right now. You're right. So
we
Bastio
got
is
the
actually,
monitor.
yeah, that's ART racing.
Art racing, all right.
Yeah. Khalifa, I think it was there getting out of the way. So V's currently not doing too bad. He's had a bit of a struggle this season where he's shown pace throughout the season, but has had bad luck throughout his races. And we see
Oh, Rafael
Rafael
just hits the wall.
completely getting it wrong there through the castle section.
As I said, you have to be risky, but not overzealous.
So yeah, V was having a bit of a struggle earlier on in the season. I'm hoping that he can now turn this around, where he's had times where he's qualified well, but then struggled to turn that around into points. Hopefully he can do that today.
Yeah, the races can always be full of surprises. You never know whether you'll get knocked out or a safety car just ruins your strategy. And that often happens, especially when you get penalties. The track limits are so strict that you'll just get penalties even for not even gaining time. And safety car can just undo all your hard work if you've built a gap.
Oh yeah, the dreaded safety car. How that has thrown a spanner in the works of many teams.
Yeah, both a savior and a curse, unfortunately.
Yes, because when you see a safety car and you've been trying your best to catch up to somebody and the whole pack needs to bunch up, it just gives you a second chance at passing a lot of guys again.
See, most of the runners are using their medium tires instead of super soft.
I would have gone with this option as well, you know, choosing to rather have the super softs for the sprint race instead.
Oh, for sure. It seems that people prefer track position over strategy. They probably they're probably thinking of any debris or any contact between other players will probably just hinder their race. So they just want to get out in front, have clean air,
Yeah,
and
as we
go
see
about it.
Dennis and Vig opting for the super soft tires. Now, that is exactly what you said, like their strategy being completely different to the rest of the top 10.
On the one side, it has its positives. On the other, you need to be quick enough for those super softs to work, so that if you do pit and go in and you gas it, it just has to work, and you have to have as minimal overtakes as possible when you come out. Otherwise, it will just hinder you indefinitely. Because if a medium runner starts in third place and he just goes the distance and comes out on super softs at the end of the race, yeah, it will just be overpowered.
Now, we got quite a long qualifying session for the Formula 2 guys compared to the Formula 1 guys who only get about 18 minutes worth of qualifying.
Yes, I believe it's because cars are much slower, so they definitely need that extra time.
We've got a couple of guys who've not set times yet. Akkad, Peter, Khalifa and Reese. So I hope they get out before their time elapses.
Most likely making mistakes. Is Joshua Notty still on the 202s? Still hasn't done a full hot lap. Because it'd be a shame to only use those super sauce for a 202.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good turnout today. 15 drivers showing up. That's not bad at all.
Oh no, that is excellent. And it's perfect. I say the numbers for racing, 16 to 20 always perfect. 15 even better.
Yeah, I think we'll see you join in somewhere near the end of the qualifying session, I believe.
Oh yes, I was a late joiner.
But we're happy to have you in the league now officially. From
Yes,
come
I'm
round 7, you'll be officially part of the team.
I unfortunately have very minimal experience with the Formula 2 cars, so I was very taken aback in the first race with the lack of downforce, lack of traction. I've never spun so many times in third gear, and like you're short shifting, and it just won't bite. So it's a car that takes getting used to. I feel everyone's much more comfortable with the Formula 1 cars because you know where the edge of the grip is and their braking performance, and you know, hey, this corner flat out easy, you just turn slightly and we'll go.
Oh,
But
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah, the Formula
the
2.
Formula 2s are completely a different ball game when it comes to racing than the F1. And I think a lot of guys, you know, coming into Formula 2 don't give Formula 2 the needed respect because these cars are very tricky, especially under hard braking. The back end does tend to step out. So you need to be more gradual with applying the brake, and also with throttle coming out of corners, you also need to be gradual with applying the throttle. Otherwise, this car will punish you real quickly.
Oh yes, I also feel the setup work needed for these cars is much more realistic compared to Formula One's setups. As you know, we run 50% diff and 50% brake bias, and that's not anywhere near realistic situations where in real life they run 56 to 57 brake bias. And you'll see that the Formula 2 cars, they actually make use of the higher brake assist where you want to lock the fronts more than the rears. Because if you run anywhere between 50 and 52 and your ABS is off, your rears will just lock under braking. So it's the car is very setup dependent. You also need to find a compromise because sometimes if you run higher downforce, you'll make the corners much easier and your tires will work not as hard. But then the straights you will suffer, and that's exactly what I did. I suffered in the first race immensely because I just didn't know what to do. All I knew was I had to have a fast enough car in the straights, but I also wanted to turn, and it just wasn't optimal for me. So this car does need a lot of setup work, and if you've got the right setup, you can save half a tenth to even a second off of people that do not have the optimal setup for the
What
car.
tips would you give people that are new to setting up their car and getting used to, playing around with setups?
Well, you would definitely have to go into time trial and spend time with different people's setups. I know the top 10, if you're lucky, you won't have cheaters at the top of your leaderboard. And I've noticed a few times like there's no cheaters on certain tracks, which is very nice. So you just take a setup that actually works and practice a few laps with it, get to terms with it, and then try a new one and see what works for you.
Yeah,
Because
because
driving styles
like
differ.
like you said exactly to what I just wanted to say now as well is just because one setup works for one guy doesn't mean it's going to be well suited to your specific driving style. So it
Yes.
is good to try out different setups and actually see what works well with your specific brand of driving.
Yes, a lot of people that have come from F1 2018 who were used to the ballast setups, they would usually throw their cars into a corner and they use high ballast, like I think it was 8, 9. And basically, this was all about weight shifting. So you would shift the car's weight to the outside, and it will help you get around the corner. But what the problem was, the rear was extremely unstable. So maintaining traction while doing that was extremely difficult.
A bit
Now,
of a
why I bring
juggling
this up?
act.
Yes, yes, precisely. Now, why I bring this up is because it is still the de facto way of getting the most speed out of the car. You want to weight shift your car around a corner. So any kind of weight transferring you're doing, it will just assist you in gaining that speed around the corner. Now, a lot of pros will say slow in, fast out. You want medium in, fast out. That's what you want the entire damn time.
Oh,
So
we saw
it's,
Leandre just improved on his time there, moving up into fourth position. Very good.
yes, only 8 tenths, oh no, 1.8 off of pole, but that's with the super softs. And he is only a tenth off of Ruan on the same tire. So that's a very decent lap.
Yeah, at the moment we're seeing quite a disparity between the top 4, 5 guys compared to the rest of the field in their times. But this is going to eventually even itself up with guys getting promoted to F1 and some of the slower F1 guys getting demoted back down to F2. And also next season we might even look at having 3 different tiers where we'll have the F1 for our tier 1 guys, and then for tier 2 we'll have the multiplayer cars and guys running independent, so no teams. And then for the tier 3 we'll have Formula 2, so our slowest guys will then occupy the Formula 2 slots.
It's a shame the Formula 1 game does not bring in the Formula 3 cars, since is also FIA sanctioned. It would be quite awesome to have all forms of FIA sanctioned open wheelers in one game.
Oh yeah, for sure, that would have definitely spiced things up a little bit. But yeah, we'll be switching over to F1 2021, which looks amazing from what I've seen of it, in Season 2, which will be about, I think, end of August. We'll be switching over to Season 2.
Oh yes, many leagues have been saying they'll be switching over, and I think it's also a good idea to wait a little bit, get those bugs to get ironed out. I remember switching from 2018 to 2019, from 2019 to 2020.
Oh,
Many bugs.
Khalifa off again.
Yes, it's a good thing there are those slip roads. It's very easy to lock up and just going straight on ahead. And like I said, your braking performance needs to be perfect for the cars. But yes, switching between games, there's always a few bugs on release, especially multiplayer bugs that Codemasters just can't iron out for some reason. and it always hinders the progress of leagues. I remember the early adoption of 2020, and there was a lot of negativity around certain things that Codemasters changed according to the physics of the cars. I remember they made it slower, I believe. And that did cause a lot of setup changes, and people weren't ready for that, and they didn't know what to do anymore.
Yeah, with
But
change, there's
yes,
always going to come a little bit of resistance. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It's a bit of a juggling act as a developer to kind of get that sweet spot. Okay, we got 10 minutes left of qualifying now. Apology again to the viewers. There won't be any driver cards for the F2 and F1 race this round, as I've had to go through a lot of the cards and remaster them a bit, as we had some driver seats changes and stuff. So they'll be making their appearance again in round 7 at Canada.
seems most people are switching over to the super soft. They might determine it as a better race tire
Yeah,
for the
Ruan
start.
said that this is a strategy that he likes to employ, is where he actually goes and sets out a couple of laps on the harder compound, gets the track acclimation done, and then once there's enough rubber on the road, he then switches over to the softer compound, the faster compound.
Yes, that is a very smart idea. It is always to get the timing right, just so that you can do your last lap on the last few minutes of the track, is also essential, because that is, I believe, when the time is just right, the rubber is in, the heat is just right, and you will get your lap done the quickest that way.
See a couple of guys out on track right now. The track is quite busy at the moment. Also a good skill to have is to kind of being able to look at the track map, being able to judge when to go out so that you don't get caught out by traffic. The last thing you want to do is being out on a quick lap and then being caught up by guys holding up your lap.
Oh, for sure. For sure. What I recommend is in settings, bring out the entire track map instead of just having the small mini map that rotates for
That
for
section,
races.
yes, no, absolutely.
Yes.
What I like to do is I also add the rear view mirror, which I tend to find helps me quite a lot. I see not a lot of guys use that with the submission of their steward request, but I do find that it is quite valuable to know what's going on behind you.
Yes, unfortunately, I find such a thing a distraction. I know I use it in slower cars when I race in ACC or AC. It helps a lot in slower cars, because you don't have to focus that much on a straight. But with formula cars and their speed, and you can't get hung up on what someone is doing behind you. You really need to focus on what's in front of you, be it your braking points, your steering point, where you need to hit, because where you look is where you're gonna go.
Well, you see, that's probably why I use it, because I'm slow enough to not really have a danger at that speed.
No, but if you can use it, if you can multitask and you make it work for you and it's keeping you safe on the road, then all for it. I highly recommend people use it then. But yes, like I said, I've got a button bound on my thumb, so if I just need to look behind me, I just do a quick tap, and I can see what's going on, and then I can just go.
Yeah, definitely.
Usually,
Track awareness is key, because you see a lot of times people get focused, or tunnel vision, where they're focusing so much on what's going on in front of them that they forget actually that there's a car next to them, and then they forget to look at the red arrows, and then you have contact and people getting angry. So yeah, no, it definitely is important to try and at least have a measure of multitasking, where you're always aware of what's going on around your car, not just what's going on in front of your car.
oh, for sure. And the thing about league racing is you're here to not just practice getting faster, but also practice your racecraft. You are going to be racing with other people. You really need to take them into consideration. So and coming back to the rear view mirror that you're using, it is very good to know where it is, so that if you're in a braking zone and someone's diving up your inside, it's good to know that it's there and you can take evasive action. But
For
it's
sure.
also a bad thing because sometimes you can misread the other person's speed. Sometimes they're coming in quick, but they're slowing enough just for the corner, and you just compromise your corner exit.
Yeah, so they
So
spook you a little bit.
there's pros and cons to everything. But
Yeah.
yes,
Now you have to just kind of work out what works best for you. If you can drive safe and keep your race clean, with with it being off or with whatever method you use, then as long as the end result is a clean race, then I'm happy for it.
another thing that I noticed with F1 2021, the HUD is now in the center and at the bottom. So hopefully the arrows do not get trapped behind any of the HUD specifics, so that when you are in a close race battle, you can actually see the white and red arrows, and you can now be aware of where someone is
No,
around you.
that's very true because it is kind of positioned in a weird way that it kind of almost fades into the background when you're concentrating on what's going on in front of you. That's why a lot of guys don't always pay attention to the arrows. Okay, we're going into the dying moments here now of qualifying session with less than 5 minutes left of the qualifying session. A lot of guys have kind of been settled with their lap times now, as we see V and Rafael already retiring from the session. They're happy with their qualifying times at the moment.
Quite a strong time from Leandre. Still sixth place with those 4 lap old mediums. And everyone else struggling with those super softs. So I see 0 laps, out laps. So everyone's doing the out laps right now, and his time might get toppled.
I would
But we'll
expect
see how that goes.
Mohammed to improve on that lap time. Him being one of the leaders of the series so far, and his teammate is beating him by 4 positions. So I'm sure he's going to improve on his current lap time as well. Dennis and Ruan currently the top two, being in the top 2 positions currently as well. Sebastien, really impressing with that time he set there as well. Oh, and we see one of the Universiosi cars getting spun around there.
I think that the disqualification is on the game and not him. He spun around
Oh,
and they
Jamie
probably assumed he still
disqualified
got
from the
stuck.
session, yes.
Sebastian putting in a good lap, only 4 tenths behind Dennis. Very strong.
Yeah, with 3 minutes left, you'll only see a few cars out on track now. A lot of guys have already, they don't want to put up too many laps on their sets of tires also.
I'm very keen to see what the new game brings in terms of tire performance. It seems that the softest compound tire always dies so quickly and overheats so quickly that you just want to get off of it as soon as possible.
Yeah, and the new damage model is also going to be quite tricky to get used to for the guys. But yeah, I mean, come round 7, I've also we've had a bit of a meeting, and come round 7 Canada, we're also going to be a lot more strict on penalties with regards to some dirty drivers and guys really being a little bit reckless and pushing overtakes in situations where there really isn't one. So guys need to learn to be respectful of each other's space, and if they don't do it by themselves, you need to force them with the bat. So I've now made an executive decision basically, and we've said that if you intentionally cause an incident, and this is going to be applied from round 7, if you intentionally cause an incident, that's a race ban. If you cause an incident where you spin out another driver, that's at least a 15-second penalty. So the guys are not going to just get away with a little slap on the wrist anymore for driving stupidly.
Yes, I've always felt that you need strict penalties in games like these. Sometimes a 5 second just does not work.
Yeah, because
But with
the amount of time that the affected driver actually loses, the victim driver, as I'll call him, is actually in some cases a lot more than just the 5 seconds.
yes, and it's also sometimes very good to work out intent of a driver as well. Not all of us have the best intentions when racing. So it's also very good to take that into consideration.
Yes, that's why, with regards to the steward submissions and stuff, it's very easy to kind of tell whether, it was a racing incident, whether it was just you being a little bit too aggressive and a mistake was made, or whether you intentionally, got irritated and frustrated and tried to damage the other guy's car. And in a case like that, you definitely will get a race ban.
Yes, I understand that in public lobbies, you'll obviously get the people that are driving dirty, and if you want to have some fun yourself, the people that are hindering you, you hindering them back. All right, go for it. But in a league race, it doesn't matter. Someone bumps you off, bumps into you, gets you a 5 second penalty under safety car. You do not retaliate.
Yeah, you
It is
use the
not
steward
your.
system afterwards, and then you can get your just reward by
You
following
are
the
not
system.
entitled. Yeah,
There
you
we
are not
go.
entitled to taking another
Oh
player out.
no,
Oh,
Dennis, getting a
Dennis.
little bit, but just showing when you're pushing this hard and you're right on the edge, he got it wrong just a little bit, and he ended up nudging the one corner, and that ended up ricocheting him off into the other wall, damaging his car. A tiny mistake at these types of speeds and it on the limit like this can really cost you quite a massive amount of time when you get it wrong.
Mistakes that the top drivers make in that section, they know the time lies there. If you go as quickly as possible through there, you will make up so much time on your competitors.
No, that's true. You do need to be a little bit brave with these city tracks, and I think that's also with regards to myself. I'm not brave when it comes to these city tracks. The walls are always scaring me, and I'm always more on the cautious side than the whole balls to the wall, let's go for it type of approach. But I don't know. City tracks and me are not friends. The walls do tend to intimidate me a little bit, and as a race car driver, you need to be fearless.
Oh, for sure. They work as very good track limits. So you won't get many complaints from drivers saying, hey, I got a 3 second time penalty when I shouldn't have, like you would get on other tracks.
No,
No, no,
that's
no. The
true.
wall is the limit. There is no, you do
Look,
not
there
take
are
any
sections
liberties.
here where guys do take a little bit of advantage with regards to the track limits, but we do have the track limits set to strict. So if they do take liberties, they will get penalized.
Oh, for sure.
All right, we're seeing the end of the qualifying. Dennis currently in P1. Great job, Dennis, there from Prema. Then, and I did say Mohammed was going to improve, and there we go. We
Yes,
got
you
the
did.
first three guys currently in their order, Dennis. But Mohammed actually ended up doing a little bit better than Ruan there. Fantastic job there. So great qualifying there. And Sebastio on his debut, fourth place. Great job. V in fifth place, also solid performance there on his qualifying. So those are your top five in the qualifying session. So now we're just waiting for the last couple. I think this guy ran out of juice. Who's this? Peter Marr. I think he ran out of fuel, so he's just
Yes, he's
coasting
definitely
back to the line. So we'll just wait for the last couple of drivers to now finish their current laps before the session will then conclude. We also see Jordan Tolmay joining us for the race. Just mentioning him now. That's also the team principal over at Carlin, who is the sister team of Red Bull.
Yes, I see a majority of people have indeed put their times in on super softs, so it will be a very interesting few laps until the pit stops.
Yeah, so a lot of people kind of followed that same approach about going out on the harder compound first, getting rubber on the track, and then switching over to the faster compound. Does seem to be a solid approach for most guys, yeah.
Yes, there's definitely
Wow,
a
look at
large
those gaps
difference.
though. I mean, there is less than a second between the first 6 or 7 guys. That's crazy. This should definitely prove for an interesting race.
Oh, for sure. Now it's good to see Ruan, South African, also 151, very good.
Yeah, South Africa is well represented here in the standings. So yeah, my Prema boys are currently also leading the constructor championship. So hopefully, with the current qualifying positions that they got there, hopefully we can look to improve our lead even further or stretch it even further to the rest of the field. So yeah, we have a 50% feature race now, and then after that we have a 25% sprint race, which will be a reverse order of the top 8 of the feature race. So the first 8 guys in the feature race, their finishing result will then get reversed. So if you finished first, you will then start 8th. And then in reverse order all the way to first. The other guys from 9th onwards will start in the position that they finished the feature race. Right, as we see the grid getting ready to do their formation lap, it's very important to maintain your distance on the formation lap also, because if you make contact with another car on the formation lap, you'll actually get disqualified and get reset straight to the starting grid. So you'll actually end up starting with cold tires, and this affects not only your acceleration off the line, but also your braking. So it's very important to get your tires up to racing temperatures before the race starts.
This is the formation lap. It counts as lap 1
Yes,
of
yes,
15 at the moment.
it does count as lap 1, yes.
Alright. I was just saying, guys are driving really aggressively.
Yes, Dennis is very, very eager to get the race going. You can see him actually putting up a little bit of a fast formation lap here. Ooh, a little bit of a touching there between the Dams driver there. The two Carlin drivers.
Yeah, as I said,
going
they're
side by
driving
side.
extremely aggressive there.
Arkad actually in the wrong car here today, so he's not part of the Carlin team, but he actually seated himself in the wrong car as he was away from his computer when the race started. Oh, we got a mistake there by Sebastian, who ended up in 5th place, getting it all wrong on the formation lap. Another car sliding out there. Oh my word, this is going all wrong on the formation lap. Yeah, Arkad actually is part of high tech. So we got a couple of cars who got really things all wrong on the formation lap. Sebastian, the biggest loser there, going from 5th to like last place. Yeah, that was very unfortunate. He would be kicking himself right now.
No, it's actually the race. They're actually racing.
There was no formation lap?
There was no formation lap. They are actually
that is very
on the race.
interesting.
So that it does explain the aggression from coming from the drivers.
So I guess whoever hosted forgot to put the formation lap on. Normally we have a formation lap with regards to these races.
Yeah, it seems we have a first retirement from Arkad.
Which would also explain why there were so many slide outs, because the tires were not up to temperature yet. And a lot of the guys were pushing way too hard for the temperature that the tires were at.
Poor Sebastian, who qualified 4th place, he is now down in 17th.
Yeah, he was the biggest loser of lap 1 with that big slide out. Arkad has left the session. He's got a DNF.
Yes, he's been retired. I think he was the one that was in that slide coming off of the curved straight just before the back straight.
Oh, and Jasper's gotten a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. And it's so tricky to get that right, though. Sometimes you just over, and then you get penalized. Ooh,
Reese just going into the wall,
and holding up V right behind him there, but V doing a great job not to ram into Reese there. That is such a tricky spot there, through that castle section.
Yeah, with the lack of downforce, these cars, you really need to be careful and accurate.
I wonder if we'll see Reese get into the pits now for an early pit now with the damage that he sustained during that section.
Yeah, it does seem that he did damage his end plate, so that will affect him in the fast left-right coming up. If I could
you see there he's already pushed wide, and because you just don't have the downforce to pull the car back in.
Very aggressive defending from him, given the damage.
And he's actually going to opt to remain out, which is interesting. I would have expected him to actually get back into the pit. So he's challenging V here, but doesn't have the downforce to go for the inside line. V
and
going
he just makes
way
a
out.
mistake.
That's allowed Reese to get right on the outside next to him. But V has the
Good
faster
space
line.
left.
There's a good battle between these two right now. Reese again right next to V. But just doesn't have enough to get past.
Yeah, you can see the right end plate of Reese is damaged, so he is definitely going to be struggling through the corners.
Yeah, but going into the pit lane this early is also going to really hamper you later on in the race. You know, if you're going to go in now, you're going to be on severely worn out tires by the end of the race.
Yeah, but you also run the probability of clearing traffic, because traffic can also hinder you way more than damaged tires ever could. So
That's also true.
that's a risk you have to take.
Yeah, you do tend to find the field being a lot more bunched up with these city tracks than they are with the fast open tracks.
We've got a close battle here between 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Yeah, there's a whole train forming behind. It looks like Reese here. Yeah, it's actually behind V. Yeah, there's like 4 cars being pulled down.
I believe their wing damage is probably causing this train to form.
Jordan Tolmay getting a 3-second penalty there for multiple warnings. So we do have a couple of drivers already out that have scored themselves penalties. Jasper with a drive-through penalty, Khalifa with a 5-second penalty, and Jordan on 8 seconds.
Ooh. Yeah, Reese hitting that wall quite hard.
There was
getting even more damage.
Aggressive, evasive maneuvers there by that driver.
You can see Leandre Bossoff going for the fastest lap.
So we're currently viewing you there, Brandon.
Oh yes, I am currently following these two drivers, Reese and Oliver, at the moment. Driving very close to one another.
Reese still not doing too badly, considering his car is actually limping a little bit.
Oh, for sure. He's struggling in those corners, but
you can definitely see that it's costing him positions, because he's now dropped from 4th all the way down to 7th. He just can't compete with the cars that are, damage free.
Safety car. Race neutralized. I wonder who
this would be a
that.
good
Josh
this would actually be a very good time for Reese to head into the pits now.
5-second penalty between Reese and Azure because of contact under safety car.
And Jordan getting another 5-second penalty there for speeding under this in the pit lane. 5-second penalty for severe collision between Mohammed and Ruan. Yeah, that's the thing when you're doing these safety car stints, whether it's behind the safety car or behind a virtual safety car, you need to be cautious following the car ahead of you.
Yeah, and sometimes the safety car just comes up abruptly, and the driver in front of you could just slam on the brakes because of the delta. Because that is the unfortunate thing, the delta, and they give you too little time. I think 15 seconds to adhere to it. And sometimes it's not even in your face, and some drivers just ignore it, or some drivers just get scared by that big red warning. So you really need to be careful, not just because of the delta itself, but because of the drivers ahead of you. They might slam on the brakes, they might speed and then slam on the brakes. It's all dependent. But if you stick to the delta, you should be safe.
Now we're looking at the drivers currently on track. Dennis has got a very strong, almost a 5-second lead on the driver in second place, Mohammed. But the top 4 are definitely running away with this at the moment from the midfield.
Oh, for sure. And since safety car is out, everyone's going to be going on to the mediums.
Yeah, Dennis
I think everyone is going to be having
I think the top 4 guys all went into the pits now. And who's that going past there? It does look like that's Peter Marr going past the pits.
That is interesting.
So he's opted to stay out. Okay. So Ruan also opted to stay out. It's very interesting.
Yep, on those super softs. Don't think that was the right choice. You would want to pit and get off, because if the race is neutralized and there's only 10 laps left, you will not have enough time to pull a gap.
Yeah, you need to take advantage of the free pit stop, basically. Because now when he does need to do his pit stop, it will probably be under normal racing conditions.
Yeah, and that is costly because the pit stops are much slower than F1.
But you know what? Sometimes it's a gamble. You never know what's going to happen in a race. I mean, you can have a best estimated guess as to a pit stop strategy, but sometimes when you pull off a gamble like this, it can either pay off for you or, it can backfire.
I'd assume so on the first lap. First lap safety cars, you wouldn't know whether to stay out or go in because you would be giving up track position. Some people would just be saying, hey, these softs just only did a lap. Let me just go
Exactly.
out, keep out, and you're going to lose track position. And you might have more aggressive drivers. And what people don't understand is the guy behind you, you're a pit stop behind him despite being ahead of him on track. And they'll
Exactly.
fight to the death, and you will eventually get damaged due to people like that, the people that don't take that into consideration. So it's also good racecraft just to know who exactly you're fighting.
Yeah, because we're on lap 5 now, currently behind the safety car, and I mean, these super softs can maybe give you another 2 or 3 laps at max, and then he's going to have to pit anyways.
They probably might just pit. If you see them going far left right now at the
Unless,
moment.
unless Ruan's going in now. Oh, you know what happened? I think Ruan stayed out because Reese was in the pits.
Teammates was in the pits, yes, so that would
Or,
have
or
held them
maybe
up.
they communicated between themselves and they probably opted to get Reese in the pits first.
Yes, that is most likely. Seems Peter Meyer just stayed out, but he is on the soft tires, so he
He,
is fine. On the mediums,
on the
my
mediums,
correction.
yeah. So he obviously went with this. He hasn't pitted yet, so he went with the longest strategy for this race. I just love these Mercedes safety cars. They really look fantastic, and with F1 2021, they look even better.
Yes, the red Merc does stick out. I
Yeah,
imagine they might also put the Aston Martin in, which is also really beautiful.
yeah, I like them both, but I have to I favor the red Merc. I just they actually alternate them. I don't know if you know this, but every second race they'll use the Merc, and then the odd ones they'll use the Aston Martin.
Oh, yes, yes. And speaking about red Mercs, I kind of miss the silver arrows. You know,
Yeah,
the
Silver
silver
Arrow days.
W11s. Yeah.
Exactly.
But remember when they paid memorial to Niki Lauda and they made their halos red? Now,
Yes.
that was the best looking Merc in recent history.
No, I have to
Honestly,
agree with
it
you.
was
That was
it was so
brilliant, and
beautiful.
it was a nice gesture as well.
Yeah, it's a shame they didn't stick with it. Honestly, it just pops. So I see no reason why they didn't
It is
continue it.
quite interesting, even though the new Mercedes are all black, they still refer to them as the Silver Arrows.
Yeah, the black was a nice. I believe it was to. How should I
It
say?
was for the Black Lives Matter thing that
In protest. This was in
Hamilton
protest of Black
supports,
Lives
and then the
Matter. Yes.
Mercedes team backed him on that. But I just find it weird that they still refer to the team as the Silver Arrows when the car itself is not silver anymore. Right, so we should probably see the safety car head in this lap. It's already been out for 3 laps. It feels like forever around these city tracks.
Cars are not yet bunched up. You see, the safety car
Yeah, it's gone
works on
past. Yeah,
everyone being very close to each other. So it's going to be a long while before the race restarts.
it does feel like forever, eh? So we see Ruan actually back into 8th position after his pit stop. So he kind of lost out more than the other guys that were in the lead.
Yeah, Ruan in eighth, but he's ahead of Reese. Did Reese go into the pits ahead of Ruan, or was Reese behind Ruan, and Ruan just let him go into the pits instead?
No, Reese was behind him on track position.
Okay, so I think they just prioritized him going in first.
Yeah, because he had a damaged car.
All right, but it still worked out. Still ahead of his teammates. See, Leandre Bosov, second place, doing quite well.
So Leandre
Dennis third.
was actually one of the championship leaders early on in the season, but he then got promoted early to F1, but his work schedule then prohibited him from really attending the F1 races on a Saturday. So he opted to drop back down to F2. So he missed, I think, three or four races because of that. So we should see good things from Leandre, as he was very dominant early on in the championship season.
He's very good with these cars. Even in the friendly races, he's quite strong with them. I think he prefers fixed setups though, because that just clicks with him for some reason.
Yeah, he did mention to me also that he likes these Formula 2 cars, likes the challenge that they bring. And it's so interesting. A lot of guys that are quick with Formula 1 cars are not necessarily also quick with the Formula 2 cars. So it's going to be very interesting to see, the guys who are in this league and who are able to adapt quickly and manage to get to the top of the tables, and whether they can then again transition back into F1. Look at Peter Ma now really backing up the field here.
Oh, 5-second penalties for Rafael, Ruan, and Reese.
Yeah, they got caught out here now. This is really very slow, but Peter is well within his rights to slow the pack down.
There's nothing wrong with this currently. He just needs to keep his pace consistent.
And there he hits off.
He's off.
Leandre had quick reactions there. A lot of drivers were caught out by that though.
See, Leandre close. Maybe not close enough to make a move into the first corner.
He has a sneaky
look.
He's
outside. But he thinks better of it.
Ooh, Rafael got a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags.
That's interesting. Maybe because
the yellow flag is out again. Sector 1.
Leandre here is making a move on Peter. He's down the inside. Does he have the speed? Yes, he goes into first place.
Great job there by Leandre. Perfect passing maneuver there.
Dennis is also now on the back of Peter, putting on
the
pressure.
Reason why he made this look so easy is because Leandre is currently out on freshest set of tires, and Peter's on worn tires. So even though he's contesting as hard as he can, he just doesn't have the grip in the corners.
You can see everyone is just gapping him right now in that middle section. He just does not have the
he's
speed
now
for it.
within a couple of sectors lost 3 positions now, both to Leandre, Dennis, Mohammed, and you also now getting past him there, Brandon.
Yep, up into 4th place behind Mohammed.
So this is kind of where you'd expect Leandre to shine at the front of the field with no one to interfere with his race.
Yeah, but Dennis is also very quick. So
Dennis has proven time and time again that he is very consistent. Actually, annoyingly so, Ruan said. This guy is just so consistent. He never makes mistakes. He's always scoring points. I think Dennis is one of the drivers that's literally in every single start that he's had scored points. All but one. He had one DNF, if I remember correctly. So that's quite impressive, actually. That's why he's currently leading the F2 championship.
Yeah, it takes remarkable skill to be that consistent. See, Dennis is up on Leandre's ass, but he does not have slipstream. DRS. My mistake.
The DRS will probably be activated in the next lap. So it's usually, 3 laps after safety car, I believe?
Yes, and it seems Leandre just got a better traction out of that corner, but Dennis is in his slipstream, so he is staying with him, but he does not close the gap.
It's exciting racing this because with the advent of the safety cars being thrown into the mix, it really spices up the race, and anything can happen again now, because the gaps that were previously there have all evaporated, giving a lot of guys opportunities to capitalize. We see a lot of guys, Peter Ma being spun around, losing a lot of places there, now being dropped down to 13th position. Obviously getting it wrong with the worn tires.
Yeah, and here's the battle between myself and Mohammed.
Now this is a thing though, because Mohammed getting it wrong there and you making contact with him.
I believe he damaged his wing, but I was lucky not to get any damage here.
With Peter staying out with the worn tires, you very easily get caught up into the mix of things, and because the guys around you are taking a corner at a certain speed or pushing very hard, you're trying to keep up with them, you forget that you're actually on worn tires and you're trying to match them, And that's when mistakes like that can actually end up happening.
Yeah, it's the traction zones that'll catch you out most of the time.
Ruan
Nice little
doing
battle
very
for
good
fourth.
to move up from 8th position after the pit stop now into 5th. Showing that he does have the pace to keep up with these guys. But he's
Yeah,
being
it
closely followed there
seems.
by Rafael.
Yeah, and Raphael gets past now at the moment.
Great job there by Rafael.
Oh,
Moves a
but he
little
goes
bit
deep.
wide. Ruan doing very well there to avoid. Ruan still has the inside line. He's going to come back.
And they give each other space. Always nice to see.
Great job.
Oh, we're following Dennis and Leandre at the moment. Yes, see, they are leading. They are pulling away from the pack. It's just the
Yeah,
battle between
currently
them
the other
now.
guys just don't have the pace to keep up with them. But we missed the overtake from Dennis on Leandre. Great job by Dennis.
You can see Mohammed is holding me up here because of his broken wing. And it's just forming a huge train behind us.
Yeah, because it is quite tricky. There's only a couple of places on this track that really offer good passing opportunities.
Yeah, and you can see Jordan Tolmay getting past Raphael. Raphael actually falling down the order. He lost out to Ruin as well. He probably made a mistake.
Oh my word, I wonder what happened to him because he was way up past Ruan and now has fallen down.
You can see these three. I believe DRS will be active this round on the straight.
Yeah, and that's gonna definitely play into the hands of Leandre and Mohammed.
Getting very close. Tolmay following me quite well.
Yeah, that Colin car is right on the back of you there.
And there, DRS active, going for the overtake.
Cute, that was
Ooh, lock up.
that
That was a
was-
huge lock up from me. That allowed Mohammed to get right alongside again. Oh, I'm following
Mohammed just
Dennis.
took the position back again, but you've still got the inside line moving
Yes,
past.
but without the DRS, he now has DRS. I'm still staking alongside him somehow, even with that.
Oh, and look at
Oh,
Jordan
yeah.
capitalizing there as well with the move.
He
he
spun.
moved across and took you out, I believe. Or,
Yeah, he unfortunately spun on the curve and took me out there.
Oh, that's unfortunate. It does look like you guys managed to get away with it relatively unscathed. As you didn't lose
we
that
were
much
broken.
time. We didn't lose that much time on Mohammed ahead of you.
Nah, he will be pulling away, I believe. We did get severe wing damage there.
So you probably would need to head back into the pit, but with 4 laps left, is it really worth it though, hey?
Thing is, with the damage done, you'd obviously lose out those positions. It was quite severe damage, so your best bet was with the fastest lap.
Yeah, try and get in, fresh tires, get the points for the fastest lap. Job done. Jordan is really on the back of you, hey? Wow, he's putting so much pressure on you there.
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately, fortunately for him, he didn't have as much damage as I did. I think you'll see me going extremely slowly through these corners, and yeah, he'll just be on the back of me, and I'm gonna be doing a cheeky block over there just for him to know that I'm very upset with his performance.
And you head into the pits. Oh, as we see
no,
Jordan
Raphael.
getting it wrong and taking out Rafael there. Shame. Poor Rafael really had a bad time of things here at Azerbaijan. Seems to have his car seems to have been almost like what they would call a crap magnet. It's just everywhere he drives, people are taking him out.
Yeah, and especially around these 90-degree corners, it is just very hard to keep it contained and give people space because these cars they'll lock up easy and they'll understeer off. So there will be many difficulties for the drivers
We
to keep
see
it clean as
Jordan
well.
getting it a bit wrong there, making contact with the barrier, which allowed V to get past. V is actually having a very good race today, up into sixth place. This is actually, I believe, one of the highest finishes, if he can finish in this position, that he's had all season.
Oh, for sure. He's been doing well. He has recovered from the back. I believe he'll be taking on Jasper pretty soon as
Yeah,
well.
so this is a
He is closing that
almost
gap.
losing it there. This is actually a very good team performance by Dams today, with a third place and a sixth place finish. If they can maintain this, of course. Ooh, and again he's struggling with that rear end. That's the second time
Yeah,
that we
that corner.
see him lose the back end a little bit coming out of the corner. So you're obviously seeing that he's struggling with grip, but still trying to push as hard as he possibly can.
Yeah, and that's the corner I mentioned earlier. You just do not have any confidence on the throttle there. So you will actually see many drivers make mistakes there.
Oh, again, Jordan also getting it wrong. So Jordan's also struggling quite a bit. But it was interesting that he did not also opt to go into the pits when you did.
Yeah. I believe he'll be going in right now. That front wing is just hindering his performance through the fast
He's
corners.
still staying out. That's very interesting. Oh, what happened there?
Reese and
just
Jordan.
slammed into the back of Jordan there. I don't know what happened there.
I have no. That is.
It almost
very
looked
weird.
like Jordan slowed down on the straight, like he missed the pit lane entry or
He
something.
he didn't exactly have the speed out of the exits of the fast left and right. And with Reese getting DRS, it was probably.
Yeah, Reese got caught out.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, if the
whenever you
Jordan-
hit somebody from behind, it's always your fault. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yes, yes, yes.
As a race car driver, you need to be aware of your distance to the next car, and you need to be able to take evasive actions not to hit somebody from behind.
But
So,
was Jordan defending his position there? That is what I want to know.
he was going much slower than expected. But he didn't do any lane changes or anything like that. So
Okay, yeah. That's the correct thing to do. If you have wing damage and you're exiting that corner, do not defend your position on that straight because you will. There's difference in speed, and if you just make a leg change, you can take someone out just because of that difference in speed. It's just much better to actually just go in the pits and get a new wing because it
Yeah.
will hinder the races of other drivers.
yeah, be a gentleman, step aside, know the fact that you're working with a car that's limping. Respect the fact that the other guy's car is better off, and let him buy and fight another day.
I don't think this is yet implemented in F1, but I believe if your car is damaged, you are required to pit within 3 laps. And I think if you remember Japan 2019, 2020, when Charles Leclerc had a damaged wing, he was forced to pit.
Oh, really? That is
Yes.
interesting. Yeah, no, that's something they would definitely need to look at implementing in the race, in the game as well.
And I know for light damage, you most likely would not need to pit. But I know in GT3 racing as well, if your damage is severe or if your
Oh,
headlights are
Oliver's
damaged.
just passed Ruan in for 8th position.
Oh, I see.
I wonder if Ruan's got some damage right now, because he's actually been passed by Reese also.
Yeah, a man of his pace, he must have some damage.
I mean, he's obviously dealing with a car that's limping, opting not to go into the pits, rather just to, try and salvage the situation and get back home. Ruan's taken his position back from Oliver, though, at least, so he's still putting up a fight.
Yeah, Leandre just falling back from Dennis. Dennis just dominating the race.
Yeah,
apparently.
Dennis is in a different league on this track. He's definitely proven to be quite dangerous on city tracks. I think he's won 2 of the 3 so far. So, really, really dangerous on city tracks.
Yeah, I see those fresh mediums are working out really well for me because I've closed the gap immensely over this race.
Yeah, the added pit stop that you were incurred really cost you a little bit as well, putting you back down to 10th place where you were up to, I think, 5th or 6th at one point.
Yes, but the thing that happened to Jordan would have most likely happened to me. I would have just lost all the speed in the fast left right just before the straight, and they would have just overtaken me with DRS me with less speed, and then obviously I would have the risk of actually harming someone else's race
Oh,
because
Jordan is not having a good time of it, getting it wrong there with the braking and hitting the back of Peter
yeah,
there.
Jordan just being overly aggressive with Peter. I think he is frustrated, but that
Yeah,
is very unnecessary driving. You leave space, you don't make contact. If you need to make contact when overtaking,
do it on the
then you have to
straight.
change. You have to change your driving style then.
Like you said, when you have a situation like that where you've rear-ended another driver, and then you also take advantage of the fact that you've just rear-ended him and then overtake him, it's not exactly the gentleman way of going about
Yeah.
things.
The thing is, with these cars as well, if you do spin someone, that loss of traction, that loss of grip, costs them so much that you can just overtake them easily. And that is also like why I say if you need to make contact with someone, just overtake them, then rather just do it another way. Much far the easier ways to overtake people, far better ways to overtake people, and to do something dirty to pull the move.
Yeah, but that's why we have to get more strict with regards to implementing these penalties, so that
And here
we
we see
see less and
V
less of
cutting
this.
that corner. Damn. He
Take
doesn't even have a penalty. Did you see
being a
that?
little bit liberal with track limits there, but we're on the last lap right now. Currently, Dams is in third and fifth, so really good showing here by the Dams team today. Dennis, Leandre, Mohammed, and Jasper also impressing us with a fourth place there. This is fantastic driving
Oh,
there
for
by
sure. I
Jasper.
think Jasper's had a very clean race up until now. Just benefiting off of the carnage going on around him as well.
Yes, this is the thing though. We've got so many quality drivers here. I mean, like, look at that. The top five guys, not even a penalty in sight. And then we have guys that are taking advantage of the rules, driving a little bit dirty, frustrating other drivers. So we definitely need to look at this and try and see if we can get this straightened out, because we want everybody to have a good time. And when you drive cleanly, everybody has fun.
Where we can see top five is Dennis, Leandre, Mohammed, Jasper, and V. Finishing off with Rafael.
In
Does
sixth
Rafael
place,
have a penalty?
Rafael ended up in sixth place, even though he had a miserable time of things. So obviously he's going to feel quite frustrated by this race. But yeah, still good points. First and sixth place for Prima. So that should at least allow them to maintain their championship lead, as I believe their closest rival is MP Motorsport, Ruan and Reese, who finished well down the line. So
Yeah, it's good
with
finishing for Prima.
Reese's penalties, that actually allowed Ruan to finish a position above him.
Yes, I believe he had a 10-second, which ended him.
All right, as we wait for proceedings to come to an end, I'll be right back at taking a quick break. All right, as we just waiting for everybody to get set. So we will have a reverse order of the first top 8 drivers now. So Dennis will start in 8th place, and we'll actually see you, Brandon, in first for the sprint race.
I believe the order got jumbled up on the restart due to lobby, how should I say, lobby errors,
Oh, yes,
lobby
correct. Yes.
lobby connection errors or some such.
So we had a disconnect. The host was trying to get the order sorted. There was a bit of an issue. So the order would have been as I just mentioned, but because of some technical difficulties, that got mixed up and the restart wasn't communicated properly for some of the drivers. So we'll just run with it. The sprint race should start shortly. So just wait for this to. I think we were on this menu for a little while, but yeah, we should see the sprint race start shortly.
It was also quite a shock to find out the sprint race, the 25% sprint race, is actually 5 laps. So everyone was in a very big rush for every single corner. I think it was quite a rough race for those 5 laps.
Yeah, 5 laps is not a lot of time to actually make something happen. Apologies for the wait here. Take it a little bit forward. There we go. As we see the guys starting. Oh, Peter Marr got the worst of it there. Got spun around at the start, right in
I
back.
believe Leandre got a penalty for jumping the start.
And somebody got a penalty there for
Finn
collision
Stitcher.
with Rafael as well. It's just everybody's nailing Rafael today.
Yeah, like I said, 5 laps, everyone's in a rush.
Hey man, they say the tallest trees catch the most wind. You know, with Prima being at the top, it obviously catches a bit of conflict with the other drivers.
I don't believe they all have personal vendettas, you know.
Well, you could argue the fact that
Most likely just wrong place, wrong
yeah,
time.
exactly. No, that it would be very malicious if people were that inclined. So Leandre currently leading out the pack here.
Ruan unfortunately retiring from the race.
Oh, so he's this is definitely going to hamper his driver championship challenge, as things were so tight between him and Mohammed that if Mohammed has a solid finish here now, that could see them swap around and Mohammed might even take second place from Ruan.
Yeah, we can see Mohammed.
Because in the previous race, Mohammed also finished ahead of Ruan. So yeah, not biting well for Ruan for this race then.
Yeah, we can see Mohammed half a second behind Dennis.
Oh,
And Dennis actually hits the wall.
but look at V again, you know, stepping up for the Dams team, up into 4th place following his teammate. This is a great showing today here by V. Mohammed getting slipstream there and getting past Dennis.
Dennis opting to stay out. I wonder how much damage he got from that. And then I got past Jordan there as well.
Again, you and Jordan, eh?
Yeah, we're on similar pace.
So Dennis is still very close behind Mohammed, so we'll probably see him challenge again Mohammed at the end of this lap. With the roles being reversed now, Dennis is definitely not going to be satisfied being behind Mohammed. He's extremely competitive.
His wing seems to be fine, so
So I think it was just a bit of a knock on the wheels.
yeah, most likely just the wheels, yes.
Ooh,
And someone's had a topple. Leandre, he spun.
Leandre,
Leandre
oh no!
And he has a penalty.
And that's a
so that
terrible
is
spot as well. Look how many positions he's now had to lose before he could get his car turned around.
I believe he also has wing damage. There's just so much wrong with that one.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And here we have Mohammed leading the race now. 6 tenths behind him, Dennis. 7 tenths behind Dennis is V.
Yeah, this is a great race at the moment for the Dams team, with them being in 1st and 3rd position.
Yeah, I can see myself closing up behind V as well. Very close. I'm actually the closest of the 3 so far. But V will have a slipstream, so I don't think...
So how did you find driving these Formula 2 cars?
Very difficult. As you can see, that fast left-hander the most understeer I have had in a long while. And here oh,
Especially
it's
if you're
V.
used to the Formula One cars, right?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, fastest lap there by you, Brandon.
Yes, that's mostly attributed to the DRS. Ah, the slipstream I got from these
Ooh,
two. But they make a
Mohammed
mistake and I managed
and
to take
Dennis.
them.
Oh no, was that V and Dennis making contact
That
there?
was V. That was V and Dennis. Like I said, the understeer in these 90-degree corners it's just so difficult to manage. And then obviously creating a gap for another person, that's also
Yeah,
another.
unfortunately, that wasn't really malicious by V's part. So they went side by side into it. And V was already as far to the right or the outside as he could go. And Dennis's car just drifted slightly over V's line, and that ended up touching his back right tire, touching the front left tire of V, and that actually ended up swerving Dennis's car around into the wall.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate. So having the wall pin them together as well, and that just creates an opportunity for me to get past. As you can see, I'm now hunting down Mohammed. I believe I hit the wall with my wheel there, not
Yeah,
my
you did say that section
so
is
that's very
tricky as
fortunate.
hell.
Yeah, as you can see, I closed I think
Ooh,
8/10
V's now
this lap
lost the
as well.
positions, couple of positions. He went from third to seventh now. Oh, he got it wrong there in the castle section. Oh,
Oh,
and
and Jamie just
Jamie
spun
just
round.
spun. There's only 2 more laps left. These guys are all just battling so hard for every position.
And Sebastian needs a good comeback from his 12th place finish in the previous race, so hopefully he does get it right now. He's in 5th, but he can challenge these as they did not have the optimal line through the left-right. So maybe with the slipstream, he could also do something.
Reese and Rafael close to one another there. And
These two just
Sebastio
have
just
the
waiting
speed.
for these two to make a mistake ahead of him so he can capitalize.
Oh, he looked at the inside. Oh,
Oh,
and he's
outbraking
outbroke
himself a
himself.
little bit. But that's allowed Sebastio to take advantage, and also Rafael. Rafael
Yep.
now up to third place, being the top Prima driver in this race.
Yeah, I believe I was struggling with traction. Mohammed had really good traction out of the corners, and I had really good speed throughout the corners, which is why our battle just hinges around 1 second the
But you
entire
know
time.
what? Mohammed's done this in the past as well, where he, if he manages to get ahead in the sprint race, he very often then runs away with the victory. He's done this before as well. He's very good at once he gets ahead to stay ahead. He's very good on defensive as well.
Yes, he most certainly does make it difficult for you. As you can see, I was very close to him here, but I thought better of overtaking him in this spot. It would be very detrimental
Yeah,
to
no,
my
it's
own
better
car.
just bide your time, look at what the other guy is doing, and then wait for a clean passing opportunity. I mean, you still have 2 laps left to make the pass.
Yeah, and I believe I did get better traction out of that corner. As you can see, I'm gaining before the slipstream even takes effect. So I believe I got DRS on that straight
As we
as
see,
well.
Jordan is now DNF'd from the race. That'll allow Jamie to actually gain the last points position. And
Yes,
you
and there I
getting
got
past
past
Mohammed. Mohammed having another sneaky look. Oh, and he taps the wheel there, but that was a bit of a dive bomb maneuver because you had the racing line.
Yeah, unfortunately, he sent it a bit too late.
Yeah, it was a bit of wishful thinking. Sebastian now up to 4th place, currently gaining quite a bit on Rafael.
Yeah. He's actually doing well. He went
He's
from
moved to
6th
third place
third.
now. He's gotten past Rafael there now. He's
That's
really
excellent
impressing on
driving from
his
him.
debut as well. I mean, he got a little bit unlucky in his feature race, but he clearly shows that he has the pace because he qualified really well and he's doing really well in the sprint race.
It just goes to show that if people don't collide with you, you'll do well, especially if you've got the skill to back it up.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, fractions of a second separate these top guys. So you really can't afford for somebody to really mess up your race, because even if
You
it's
won't be
just a
clawing it
second,
back.
it could cost you a position or two.
Yeah, I believe rubber banding really has spoiled racing games. Everyone expects that, oh, I make a small mistake, I might just claw it back. But the realism is, or, well, reality is going to hit you in the face. And people that are consistent, like Dennis and Mohammed, are just going to be keep on putting in those laps, and you will not be clawing back from a mistake,
Oh no,
especially one that
definitely.
hinders your performance.
Definitely. No, the guys at the top make fewer mistakes. They do make mistakes, but a lot fewer and a lot less costly mistakes.
Yeah, we can see Sebastian Raphael is battling out at the moment, with Raphael having a penalty.
So well done, Brandon. You got the race win. Unfortunately, you won't be credited with the win because you were not officially part of this race. But
Yeah, that is
yeah,
nothing.
you definitely impressed me enough for me to sign you to the Formula 2 team.
Yeah, and with Primo no less,
And
also
with
very
Prima
good.
no less, so Prima will be putting in even more of a dominance to the rest of the guys for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, it's good to see Sebastian finish on the podium where he belongs.
Well done there,
It's a shame that
Sebastian.
his prior race ended him with 12th when he qualified fourth. So it's good to see that he redeemed himself in this
Exactly,
race.
got some good, well-deserved points there at the end.
And then we have the Primo boys, Rafael and Dennis, finishing fourth and fifth. Good points. Good for the constructors.
And Jamie and Jasper, the Universiosi guys, also finishing in the points behind one
Yeah,
another.
I believe that spin did cost Jamie
But
quite a
Leandre
bit
being
in this
very
race.
unlucky also, being one of the quicker guys on track, finishing 11th out of the points, very unlucky.
He also had a drive-through penalty for jumping the start, so that did affect him, as well as a broken wing
Yeah,
and that spin.
on a sprint race, there's no ways you can recover from a drive-through.
Hey, but we haven't had a NASCAR pileup, so there's always that way.
That's true. You're just waiting for the last guy to get across the line now. Alright, so that will actually conclude the race. So well done and we got Sebastian, well deserved for driver of the day there.
Oh, some good hard racing from these drivers.
Celebrations all around. Alright, so here we can look at the final standings. Now this is after all steward decisions were taken into account, the final official standings for the race. As you can see, Brandon, you're not featured anywhere because, like I mentioned, you were not officially part of the league. 4 points for Dennis for pole position. Dennis scoring the first race win there, followed by Leandre, Mohammed, and Jasper. Second race, the race win then goes to Mohammed, followed by Sebastian, and then Rafael, and then Dennis. So, yeah, driver of the day for the sprint race was Sebastian Antonio. I believe actually you got driver of the day for the first race. That's why there's no driver of the day for the feature race.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so then we're quickly going to go over to the leaderboard. So apologies again, my comrade Rowan is being occupied, so we don't have the fancy leaderboards right now, but this will have to do for now. Dennis currently leading the championship on 160 points, so his lead is quite massive compared to the race. He's 38 points ahead of Mohammed, but as we said, Mohammed did eventually end up taking second place position there from Rowan. This race being very costly for him, and the DNF didn't do him any favors either. So Ruan is in third place on 105. Then there's quite a bit of a gap to Rafael, but Rafael only ended up joining, I think, on round 4 of the season. So he's had very few races, but in those few that he was part of the season so far, he scored a lot of points. So he's in fourth place, Oliver in fifth, and Jasper in sixth place, already in 63 points, followed by Charles Clark. So that's the drivers at the moment. And then our team standings, we got Prema very, very far ahead. As you can see, 236 points compared to the 163 by MP Motorsports, and them stretching the lead even further in this race, as in both races they scored better points than MP Motorsports. Dams have really done well to score well today and close the gap on MP Motorsports. So I believe if they get another good showing, they might be in good standing to even grab second place from MP Motorsports. So yeah, those guys are in danger. Then for the midfield, we got High Tech leading the charge at the moment over Colin with 4 points, followed by HWA Racing and Universiosi. And then the bottom of the field, we got Charisse Racing, Compass, and ART Racing at the moment. ART really struggling this season currently with only 27 points. All right, so that's it for the racing for today. So I thank you guys for joining us very much, and thank you, Brandon, for joining us for your debut commentary. Thank you very much. You did a swell job.
Always a pleasure.
All right, guys, have a good evening and good night.
Good night.
Over the edge, feel like I'm floating through the air. The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. Oh, I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see. Burning the bridge that keeps us. I'm here and I'm feeling fearless. Exaggerated, that's what you assume. The story's over now, I must conclude. I am conflicted, watching where I step still, hanging in the balance, not the life I want.